Chapter 16. James. Alice was decidedly unavailable for the next week. She participated in each event I planned for her staff, but she refused to be alone with me. I could tell something was up, but every time I tried to talk to her about it, she excused herself from the conversation. I was beginning to feel like maybe she regretted ever getting involved with me again. I'd been so sure it was what both of us wanted, and there was no mistaking her body's response. But after things cooled off, apparently she was reevaluating the situation. I was disappointed for sure, but I wanted to make it known that I wasn't just after sex. I wanted to be her friend, if nothing else. Alice was such a key player in my life. It didn't seem right to leave things hanging. I'd suffered 10 years ago without her, and now that we'd found each other again, I didn't want to go back. At the very least, we could talk on the phone, exchange details about our day, and lean on each other in times of crisis. I hoped that with time she would come to realize I was sincere and she would give me another chance. If her heart wasn't with me, then I could deal with that. I just didn't want her to ghost me. We were coming into the home stretch for the month-long celebration we'd planned together. This Saturday, I was taking the entire office to the ballet. We had tickets to a special matinee performance of the Nutcracker. I arranged for vans to transport people from the Shipping Magic parking lot to the theater so we could all arrive at one time. After the show, the vans were going to take us to a hotel buffet across town, where we could dine beside a dramatic indoor waterfall. The ride would end back at the parking lot by 7 o'clock, giving parents plenty of time to put their children to sleep. I dressed up for the occasion in a full tux with black pants and shoes. As a party planner, I had a number of different suits for various occasions that ran the gambit from casual to upscale. It was merely a matter of picking the right one out of the closet. Arriving at Alice's office, I saw that she wore a much simpler gown. It was cream-colored with lace around the hem, and it looked flawless covering her skin. She came off as sweet and innocent, something I knew was misleading. Beneath that dress was a wild woman who came alive in my arms. I couldn't help imagining the dress crumpled up on the floor as Alice straddled me in bed. It wasn't my finest moment, and I shook the image off. "You look lovely," I told her. "Thank you," she responded in her new chilly tone. I waited until all the vans were full and then swooped in to sit beside her. "Excuse me," I told Marcy, who was seated next to her. "You're needed in the first van." "Oh?" Marcy asked, giving Alice a questioning glance. Alice narrowed her eyes, not fooled by my lie. "Go ahead," she replied, only because she didn't want to make a scene. I took Marcy's place with a grin, letting the van's driver know it was time to take off. "Do you still watch the Nutcracker every Christmas?" I asked pleasantly. "Yes." "So I could safely call you a fan?" She studied me for a moment, all business. "I guess so." "I remember you forcing me to watch the video in our senior year." She sighed, but I could see a reluctant smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. "As I recall, you thought it was boring." "That's only because I didn't fully appreciate it," I explained. "A few years after we split up, I went to see it live." She dropped the Ice Queen act and turned toward me. "What did you think?" "I liked it," I said, putting my hand on her knee while she was in a better mood. "It's an entirely different experience when you're in the audience." Alice reached for my hand, pulling my fingers off her leg. But instead of tossing them away, she held them gently for a few moments as if considering her options. I wanted to ask her again what was wrong, or what had changed since we made wild, passionate love in her office, but we were surrounded by other people, and the time wasn't right. The van pulled up outside the theater, letting us all off. I helped Alice down, maintaining contact with her for as long as possible. She politely excused herself to go to the bathroom, but I wasn't worried. I could do this dance for longer than ballerinas could stay on point. When she came back to find her seat, I was saving it for her. She grinned when she saw my jacket over the back, knowing that I had scored a point. Sitting down, she teased, "I can't get rid of you, can I?" "I don't know why you would want to get rid of me," I countered. "James, seriously?" She turned to me, finally ready to talk, but just then the curtain went up and the lights went down. We settled back in our chairs to watch the action unfold. It was every bit as dramatic as I remembered, and even more beautiful in places. The crowd oohed and awed as the soldiers came to life and when the mice threatened to ruin their fun. At intermission, a group of office workers turned around in their seats and monopolized the conversation. Several children needed to expend their energy running up and down the aisles until the performance began again. I had to wait until the entire dance was over before finally getting a chance to talk with Alice. We joined her employees in walking back to the lobby. Everyone was buzzing with excitement over the day's event and the meal that would follow. I grabbed Alice by the elbow and pulled her over to a corner. After that brief glimpse into her true motivation, I didn't want to let it go. "What's wrong, Allie?" I asked, feeling more desperate than I realized. "I thought things were going well between us." "You have your work thing after this job is over," she reminded me. "It's just for a couple of months," I said. "A couple months?" she stammered. "I can fly back and forth," I replied. "It's no big deal." "This isn't going to work." She held up a hand, giving everyone who might have been watching a clue as to what was going on between us. "It'll work if we want it to work," I challenged her. "We let ourselves get caught up in the nostalgia and the spirit of Christmas. There wasn't anything real about it," she continued, not listening to a word I was saying. "That's not the spirit of Christmas I remember," I argued. "It's over," Alice said. "It's been over for a long time. We should just admit that to ourselves and move on." I squared my jaw, ready to do battle until the end. I didn't want to give up so easily. We'd come so close to having a chance at real happiness, I didn't want to throw it all away. She was obviously concerned about my business plans, and that made sense. She didn't want to be alone any more than I did. But the solution wasn't throwing the baby out with the bathwater. We needed to come together, to work out something that would satisfy both our careers and our passions. I knew it was possible, even if she didn't. But by the time I figured out how to begin to say everything that was on my mind, she ducked away. I put my hand against the wall where she had been and sighed. If only Alice was a regular client and I could charm her into compliance. I was so good at making magic for everyone else, why couldn't I summon anything for myself? I shook my head to clear it, pushing off the wall and back into the crowd. This time I chose a seat as far from Alice as I could get. Her words hurt, and I needed time to think of a comeback. I rode to the hotel with the finance department, forcing myself to have a good time.